tell a relatively cruel story. If you are crazily infatuated with someone, constantly self-destructing, and unable to detach yourself emotionally. From a psychological perspective, it's not about how much you love them, but rather how much your subconscious mind is controlling you, causing you to lose rational judgment. You put a 10-level filter on them and constantly hurt yourself in the process. After reading these 3 psychological effects, you will immediately break free from the love brain and stay clear-headed without self-destruction. The first is the scarcity mentality. If you become too obsessed with someone, it often indicates that there is a problem within yourself. It means that you are too desperate for a relationship and that person happens to be there. All the good qualities you see in them are just illusions and filters created by your own imagination. You even selectively ignore their flaws. In reality, you are only in love with your own fantasies, not necessarily the person themselves. You are just feeling too scarce and lonely. According to Maslow's hierarchy of needs theory, people can only focus on and pursue higher-level needs once their basic needs are met. When you have a scarcity mentality, your needs and the other person's needs are not on the same level. It's like a top-tier beauty inviting a homeless person to dinner. The beauty wants love, and eating is just a side note, while the homeless person's need is to be fed. They are hungry and need to satisfy their hunger before they can have the mental space for romance. This is called an unequal distribution of needs. Your needs and theirs are not equal. What do you have to attract them with? When you have limited exposure to the opposite sex, it is easy to fall into this scarcity mindset and view any seemingly promising girl as a lifesaver. From a psychological perspective, when a person tries too hard, the result often falls short of expectations or even has the opposite effect. Therefore, boys should never reject opportunities to interact with the opposite sex. They can even make friends with several opposite sex friends, even if it's just pure friendship. When you are no longer scarce, your charm will be more likely to double. The second is the sunk cost fallacy. The reason why you find it difficult to break free from a toxic one-sided relationship is that you have invested time, energy, and emotions in the wrong person. This creates a sense of sunk costs. When there is an imbalance between what you give and what you receive, it becomes emotionally unacceptable to experience loss and negative emotions associated with failure. This triggers the brain's defense mechanism, giving you the illusion that you are deeply in love and cannot live without the other person. You attribute these irrational feelings to love. In reality, most of the so-called true love in the love brain is just a result of being overly invested in oneself. It may seem like you can't let go of the other person, but in fact, it is your subconscious mind refusing to let go of your own investment and efforts. Once you are deeply entangled, it is difficult to make rational decisions or take loss prevention measures. Often, you still hold on to fantasies and further increase your investment, attempting to turn the situation around. The result is getting trapped in a vicious cycle where the more you invest, the greater the losses become. It's a vicious cycle of wanting to cut losses but feeling reluctant to do so. In the end, you become the one begging for reconciliation. When facing a girl you admire, the correct mindset is to see her as someone with decent qualities that you can further explore and assess, rather than believing that you cannot live without her. Love is a mutual choice process. You shouldn't get too attached too early and should maintain a stable and balanced mindset to prevent excessive investment and falling into a vicious cycle. The third is emotions versus logic. Fondness or attraction is not a logical phenomenon, especially before the other person becomes interested in you. You cannot use logical reasoning and convince women by boasting about your possessions, such as how many properties or cars you have and how well suited you are. If there is no emotional connection, they will still reject you because they don't feel it. You can compare this process to selling a product. The premise of closing a deal is for the other person to be interested in the product. Only then can your sincerity and genuine feelings have an effect. You can't solely rely on sincerity and try to sell something that the other person doesn't need. Before she develops feelings for you, if you try to persuade her to accept you in this way, she will distance herself from you due to psychological pressure. Building a romantic relationship has always been based on this feeling. Once a woman feels this way, your sincere efforts become what she needs. The so-called feeling is a kind of instinctive sensation triggered after attraction is ignited. In the early stages of a relationship, you need to showcase things that directly trigger this feeling, such as having a colorful and vibrant life, a sunny and clean appearance, and a good social status. These are things that can directly trigger the feeling switch. Pleasing others sincerely and making rational arguments are highly civilized practices, but they can only change women's logic and cannot evoke their emotional response. It's like saying women prefer men who are 180 centimeters tall. Ask them what practical use height of 180 centimeters serves. Even if you win the argument, it won't change their preference for choosing a partner. That's human nature. You can't go against it.